So it seems like there have been some leaks of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III. Will it beat the Samsung S21 in 2021? Hello guys, hope you're all staying safe.
Man don't need face mask. Man has big, manly beard. No virus can penetrate man's beard.
So if you haven't seen this leak video already, this new video comes from the leaker, Steve Hemmerstoffer, posted on his Voice, which is a website where leakers basically show off their details. And it's not a leak from Sony itself, but it gives us a good idea of what to expect from the upcoming Xperia 1 Mark III. As you can see from this video, on the front there is a large screen, a front-facing camera which is housed inside a notch. At the back side of the phone there are 3 cameras. There's also a USB-C port and a 3.5mm headphone jack present. So it sounds like the Xperia 1 Mark III is more of an iterative update to the Xperia 1 Mark II, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because the Xperia 1 Mark II is still a fantastic phone. There don't seem to be any huge changes, just minor tweaks that improve on the older phone. But one thing you'll notice from these renders is that there seems to be an update to the zoom lens, which now looks like it's a periscope style lens. From my reviews of the Xperia 1 Mark II, you'll know that one of the downsides of this phone is not really much of a downside, but I think in 2021 it would be a downside, and that's the level of optical zoom. Now with other brands like Samsung doing super zoom cameras with periscope lenses and Huawei and stuff like that, I think Sony needs to address this now, and they need to increase the amount of zoom on offer and also improve the quality of the sensor, because the zoom sensor on this phone is nowhere near as good as the primary camera, I think. So this periscope style zoom lens, it's kind of a hint that Sony are working towards addressing this problem, which is good news in 2021. From the research that I've done in the community, it looks like 5 times optical zoom is kind of where this phone is going to be at. Obviously that's not 100% confirmed yet, but I think it should be around that sort of level. Why do I think the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III will beat the Samsung S21 in 2021? No doubt the Samsung Galaxy S21 is a very good phone and it has made great strides over the previous generation, but there's some reasons that I think the Xperia 1 Mark III is more appealing, and even the Xperia 1 Mark II is more appealing to me. And I'm going to tell you these reasons now. Firstly, the Samsung Galaxy S21 does not have a micro SD card slot. And I think for a lot of people who bought Sony phones this year, I think that was one of the things that kind of made them want to buy the phone. The micro SD card is important to a lot of people, me included. Personally, I wouldn't consider buying a phone if it didn't have a micro SD card slot.
No micro SD. No sale.
Secondly, the Samsung Galaxy S21, it still supports a Quad HD display, and Quad HD is not like a little amount of pixels. It's still a lot of pixels. However, the Sony phones are standard now, come with 4K OLED screens, and I've noticed this is the sharpest screen that I've seen to date on a phone. It's 4K, it's above 500 ppi, God knows exactly what it is. Put it in the comments below, I've forgotten the exact number. But it looks to me like the sharpest screen I've ever seen. It's great for reading, and the plus side is also when you watch a 4K movie, it's native on the display. There's no downscaling or anything like that going on, and purists I think will like that. Thirdly, I prefer the form factor of the Sony Xperia phones. The Sony Xperia 1 Mark III will still support this 21:9 form factor, which is kind of like an ultra widescreen model. And personally, I think it's better if you want to watch movies on your phone, but most importantly, I think it's easier to hold in the hand compared to something like a mainstream Samsung Galaxy. I always feel like they're a little bit wide. So here's my Samsung Note 10 from last year, Note 10 Plus. It's just so much wider and I can feel it straight away in my palms compared to something like this, which is just so much easier to hold. And yeah, I prefer it. Fourth, from my camera comparisons between the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, the Apple iPhone and the Samsung Galaxies from last year, I found that all three brands had very comparable cameras, very good cameras, but overall what appealed to me the most was the Sony cameras because they just look more natural. Like with Samsung phones especially, you'll notice that the colors have been boosted to like a garish level, and the contrast has been rocked up like to where no shadow detail exists. If you look at this on a color accurate display, you'll notice that, you know, there's plenty of potential in the camera, but I think what they're doing behind the scenes, trying to make these photos pop more, to me it doesn't appeal. So that's why I think the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III is still going to have camera quality that to me will look better, but maybe not to you. The fifth thing, which I think is a bit of a cheeky thing, is that Samsung are now not bundling chargers in the box. And I find that really annoying and really pointless. They're saying they're doing this because they're trying to save the planet, right? It's like an eco movement, right? Personally, I don't think chargers are harming the planet. I think if you want to save the planet, you know, maybe start with things like planes or, you know, power stations and stuff like that. That's just my opinion, obviously. I think Samsung are just cost cutting and they're using this as an excuse, to be honest with you. The sixth thing is there's no 3.5mm headphone jack, right? Which is one of these things here. You might have forgotten what they look like because all these phone manufacturers, they're getting rid of them. Now, I find it hilarious that Samsung are not bundling you a charger in the box because they're trying to save the planet. But when you take out the 3.5mm headphone jack from a phone, it means now you have to use an accessory, a separate dongle, to plug your headphones into your phone. So isn't that also creating more waste for the planet? Because now people got to get these dongles to go with their phones. And a lot of these dongles go unused. So that's more waste, in my opinion, than a phone charger. Samsung, put a 3.5mm headphone jack back in your phones and save the planet. Do it. The seventh thing is, personally, I think Sony phones just look better. I think they're slimmer, they look better. The way they style the back of the phone is just more to my taste. It's more subtle. It's just better. That's all. That's it. What else can I say? I don't like the multicolored design on the S21. I don't like that camera thing that they have going on. They're trying to copy Apple with the cutout section for the camera. I think it's a bit of a knockoff looking design and they don't do it quite as well as Apple. The camera modules don't even look like they belong on the phone. It's like some sort of aftermarket fault where they stuck it on or something like that. Xperia phones to me just look sleeker, just look more pretty. That's just my opinion.
Oh, look at my new camera. I put camera onto phone and it looks cool now. Look. Good camera. Very good camera.
The eighth thing is the price. Now the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is $1,199 starting price in the US. In the UK it's £1,149 starting price, right? That's the starting price. Unbelievable. And that doesn't even get you a full featured phone. That gets you 128 gigabytes of storage, which is not flagship, if you ask me, and 12 gigabytes of RAM. You have to spend hundreds of pounds more to get the 16 gigabyte RAM model and get more storage on board. And that's like $1,500 for a phone. Personally, these days, I don't think you get a good deal with Samsung at all these days. Back in the day, Samsung phones used to be a good value alternative to Apple phones. But now, they're just too much on the price. They're too much. There's no value left in these phones. Now, if you compare that to my Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, which has a flagship chipset inside, it's got a flagship camera, flagship screen, all these flagship features, I paid £699 for it, £699, so half price, on contract, and I got a free set of noise cancelling headphones as well, which are worth like 150 quid.
Join my tribe. Smash subscribe.
So tell me, how can you beat that? How can someone say to me, this Samsung is better when it costs double the money and you don't get anywhere near double the performance? Nowhere near it. Honestly, since Huawei got banned, there's not really much else out there in terms of competition for Samsung and Apple. I think that Sony is the only real kind of true smartphone brand that's kind of long standing that has any chance of competing with these two. And this is where I think the value is in the market at the moment. Some of you may think, you know, he's turned into a Sony fanboy. And, you know, I've never been a Sony fanboy, but recently I've morphed into one because this Samsung and Apple, the price that they're charging for these phones and the stunts they're pulling off, like not putting a charger in your box and stuff like that. How do you expect me to support them? How do you expect me to support them when companies like Sony, and there's other companies as well like OnePlus and that, they're giving you a much better deal and they're not the two biggest companies for smartphones in the world? To me, the choice is an easy one. What about you guys? Which smartphone brands do you think are doing the best right now? Leave your comments down below.
Join my tribe. Smash subscribe.